an amazing morning it has been already. I'm Alice Madden. I'm the Policy and Political Director at Greenpeace USA. I know many of you under different hats I've worn over the last couple of decades. I really want to start by thanking Chip and recognizing the privilege I have of speaking to you all on Indigenous Peoples Day and having the privilege of living on this land that is the ancestral territories of Ute, Arapaho, and Cheyenne people, and frankly, many, many others. So I'm going to be talking a little bit about the threats to all of the notions and ambitions that we have been talking about over the last 3 days. So our democracy is under attack. I've been working with Greenpeace for a year now, and we have been focused on this concept of democracy resilience. We cannot elect climate champions. We cannot do what we need to do unless we have a functioning democracy. And right now our democracy is under attack. You just heard a great quote from Wilma Mankiller that our success is never giving up. Well, guess what? The fossil fuel companies never give up. They just double down. So I'm going to talk a little bit about a more recent weapon that they have developed. So we know that oil and gas industry has been denying climate science for decades. They've been funding strategic disinformation to frankly stymie any chance of phasing out fossil fuels or ramping up renewables. And now they have, since the DAPL protests and since the murder of George Floyd, and this timing is no coincidence, 21 states have passed over 42 enhanced anti-protest laws because DAPL, those protests were historic and they scared the fossil fuel industry. Another thing that I'll be talking more about today is these strategic lawsuits against public participation, SLAPPs. That term was actually founded at the University of Denver a couple of decades ago, but it's become a favorite tactic now of oil and gas corporations. And these threats are direct attacks on our First Amendment rights, indigenous sovereignty, and the very future of our planet. So I'm going to talk a little bit about these SLAPPs, and I'm curious if any of you have heard about them before. Have you heard about SLAPPs? It's kind of an awful acronym, frankly. So these are cases that are filed with no real intention of winning. They want to tie up their enemies, their dissenters, their critics in court. They want to make them spend their resources and time in civil court, and in some case, bankrupt them. And again, this is a common tactic now. Over the last 10 years, over 150 SLAPPs or other judicial abusive have been filed by the fossil fuel industry. Just think about that. Rather than playing fair, they take someone to court who does not have the resources to fight. And they target individuals, they target small community organizations, they target big greens like Greenpeace, and news organizations. And this can have a real chilling effect on entire movements. And an attack on one of us is an attack on all. We're working in coalition with an amazing group called Protect the Protest. I hope you'll look them up, protecttheprotest.org. And we are no stranger to SLAPPs. I'll tell you about a couple of suits against Greenpeace, but the stakes, of course, go well beyond Greenpeace. We're vigorously defending ourselves at Greenpeace, but we're also working in coalition to halt this abuse and safeguard the rights for all of us for peaceful protest, voice dissent, and advocate for climate and environmental actions that we need to protect civil society. I'm going to tell you about one story before I delve into a couple of the cases against Greenpeace. There's a woman named Esther Calhoun from Uniontown, Alabama. Her town has a median income of $8,000 a year. Okay, just picture that for a moment. They had a landfill that was, they were asked if they could expand the landfill. The state approached them and like, sure, that's fine. And then suddenly it was more than their state. 17 states started dumping their trash in Uniontown. And that wasn't what the worst of it was. Then they started dumping coal ash. So a few people started noticing the health disparities that were happening. They started complaining about it. And what Esther says the final straw was they were driving their heavy equipment over one of their historic cemeteries. And so they formed a group on their phones. They don't have laptops. They formed a Facebook group on their phones and started complaining, started going to the state. So the coal ash company sued them, a group of 5 people with a town of 8,000, median income of 8,000 a year. They sued them for $30 million. Now, what was the point of that suit? It was to terrify those people. Well, guess what? They were not terrified. Esther says, that was just some made-up number. What are they going to get out of us? And luckily, the ACLU and Earth Justice got involved, and that case went away. But that's the sort of tactic we hear about. A logging company called Resolute sued Greenpeace over 7 years ago. They sued individual employees at Greenpeace, our scientists, again, trying to really intimidate people. After 7 years, that case was dismissed under summary judgment, which means basically had 0 merit, but it still took 7 years in federal court to get dismissed. And right now, we are in the middle of a suit for our Greenpeace's participation in the Standing Rock protests. Greenpeace was invited by Indigenous people to help train in nonviolent protest. So there was active Greenpeace participation there. And Energy Transfer Partners is the name of the pipeline corporation. They have sued Greenpeace. They sued in federal court. They sued in state courts. They sued many parties, including the tribes. So the last defendant standing is Greenpeace. Unfortunately, there's a jury trial in North Dakota State Court. Think about that for a moment. A North Dakota jury, and they're suing for $300 million. The CEO of ETP is a guy named Kelsey Warren. To give you a taste of him, he sued Beto O'Rourke for defamation, case that took several years. It was just dismissed under Texas's anti-SLAPP laws. So this is a person who likes to sue his critics. And that jury trial is next summer. So I'm talking a little bit about what we're trying to do in the meantime. Legislation is truly important. I mentioned Kelsey Warren's case was dismissed because Texas has an anti-SLAPP law. 33 states and the District of Columbia have anti-SLAPP laws. Wisconsin just introduced one. All those laws were passed in a bipartisan manner. The Wisconsin law, shocker, became a partisan argument, since everything today is a partisan argument. But in the past, these have been bipartisan efforts. Representative Raskin has introduced a bill last session. He's reintroducing it soon. He's going to have Republican sponsors. No one likes to have a meritless lawsuit of defamation against them, so it's a surprising, strange bedfellows of people supporting this. But I want you all to watch for that and make sure that your representatives and everyone you know calls their reps and senators to pass this law. Because the rules of civil procedure vary state to state, and the federal rules are very different from the state. So it's critical that we pass a federal law and get laws on the books in the remaining states. So what can you do? People don't know about this. And when they hear about it, most people are appalled. We are trying to raise the visibility of this threat. We're trying to build solidarity around it, because really an attack on one is an attack on all. It could be you. There was a fellow in Colorado who was a witness when Colorado passed their anti-SLAPP law. He had comments on Facebook, and he was sued over that. So, and we need real engagement. A couple of things that we're trying to do at Greenpeace, again, raising the stories of others. We want to train what we've been calling democracy ambassadors who are well-versed in these threats, can talk about the upcoming legislation, and communicate these issues to all of their friends, colleagues, et cetera. We're trying to get some external validators. We have a corporate pledge. If anyone's interested in learning more about that, please let me know. We have a lawyer's sign-on letter, because there's firms that represent these corporations, right? So a group of law students have been shaming some of the firms who've been doing this. I can't mention the firm that's suing us, but pretty easy to find out if you're so inclined. And we really want to build a coalition of partners around this. Again, this jury trial is in July 24, $300 million. Kelsey Warren has said, this isn't about the money, we are sending a message. Well, what is that message? Shut up, go away? You don't get to protect your water, you don't get to protect your rights, you don't get to protect your voice. We also want to create a democracy resilience portal that most importantly, would supply resources for current and future victims to SLAPPs. But it also would provide key information, calls to action, ways to support the legislation in the future, ways to get the laws passed in other states, and building up this awareness as we head to jury trial. I think that moment when people learned that Greenpeace could go away because of someone like Kelsey Warren and Energy Transfer Partners, that hopefully people will stand up and realize that all of our rights are under attack. So I appreciate being here today, Chip. Thank you so much. Hopefully I can get you all back on time. I wanted to just tell you about this. I'll be around, and my email is here, or I can give you a card. But thank you all so much for listening to this today, and let's stop this threat so we can move forward with the just and peaceful world that we do deserve. Thank you all.